Yes, our video today is about publication of research work from thesis and or dissertation. As a matter of culture, before we can proceed, make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that should we have any new videos, you are the first one to receive them. And give a thumbs up in case the video is of helpful or important to you. And also not forgetting to share the video with friends, with students, and whoever you prefer them to watch the video. And give a comment should you have any question or comment or view on the issues under discussion. You can comment on the comment slot. Yeah, before we proceed, our agenda today for the video is I'll give a primary goal for the video, and I will introduce you to the content of the discussion, and I will present the reasons for publication, and also guide on extracting articles from research work, and I will also give some options in structuring extracted papers, and also guide on preparing articles for submission in the journal, and then I'll conclude the discussion. The primary goal or purpose of this video is to guide you on the process of publishing your research work upon this completion of your thesis or a dissertation, because it is important and a good thing to do. In my introduction, I'll start by saying that it is very important to publish your research work in an appropriate publication or a journal or a book as a chapter or as an authored book. There are many things to consider before one can consider submitting work for publication in such publishing platforms. It is also advisable to co-author some of your work with supervisors or colleagues who are senior with regard to publication or researching. And that will help you with regard to gaining exposure in the field of publication, and also to learn from those who have extensive experience with publication, and to also, more importantly, gain citation index, because the more you published with advanced or scholars who has been publishing or who has been in the field for some times, you tend to also gain recognition in the field. You also need to do more on your extracted manuscripts. Do further readings for improvements, and also to add more new things in the new articles, so that you don't find yourself producing identical work to your thesis or dissertation completely. You can add more latest literature, do more readings to discover and such kind of work, and add them in your current publication. And further, do rewriting or rewrite your work and send it for language editing to improve on the work, on the flow of discussion, and also the grammar. What is the reason for now publishing your work from dissertation and thesis or thesis? There are several reasons for publication of research outputs from either thesis or a dissertation. So one of the reasons may be to gain recognition in the field or in your field. Other people will recognize that you are also one of extensive researchers in the field, and that will gain you more recognition. And also to get or gain promotion at work. In some instances, other academic institutions, they promote their employees based on publication outputs. And also to gain incentives or get incentives at work, because other employers, especially in academic industry, they give incentives to their academic staff or employees in a situation where they produce publication work, and also to provide a solution to the community, because your research will be focusing on tackling or identify solution for a particular problem that is burning or affecting industry or community at large. And in that way, you'll be also guiding them on how to arrive at the situation or how to implement your recommendations. And more importantly, the other reason will be to add more knowledge in the field, so that other researchers are able to get information for background papers and literature review. And also to showcase you are a PhD candidate, to show that as a PhD candidate, you can also do it, you can also make it. And also to make sure that you scatter your work in piecemeal to ensure that your readers are able to read in a reasonable and manageable scope than reading the whole thesis of more than 100 or 400 pages. So in this regard, readers will be able to read to completion in a manageable time or time frame. Extracting articles from research work, what do you do and what do you consider? Their approach depends on many things in this regard. Normally, people extract their information for publication papers per objectives, while some extract are based on the size of the themes, especially in the literature and data presentation. You may find that you have sufficient literature that can make up a paper that is valuable to the audience or to in the field, or alternatively, you have sufficient data that can be published. So those are some of the things that you consider when you extract information for publication paper of article or a book chapter or a book. When extracting based on the objectives, usually one may copy every element addressing a particular objective to construct a paper. And similarly, when extracting based on a specific theme, you may need to extract everything addressing such theme to formulate a paper. And before extracting a paper from any objective or a theme, be sure of certain things which include answering or having the answer to this question. Will your paper under construction be interesting to your audience? If it's not interesting, then why do it? Does it address current issues in the field? If it does not address any issue or a problem, I don't see any need for you to construct or write such a paper. And you must ask yourself whether the subject matter was not over-researched or over-published. If it was over-published or over-researched, then there's no need for you to continue or go further to duplicate other people's work or something which was already published. And does it address a particular problem? If no, then there's no reason. I don't see any reason for you to do it. In some instances, you find that certain elements are missing and still need to be constructed altogether for the paper under construction. This is some of the challenges that you'll face when extracting information for the purpose of publishing an article from either thesis or dissertation. In some instances, you may find that you only have information that address literature review and also presentation of data and other few elements, but you don't have introduction and background. So this takes you back to readings and writing further so that you can build up your introduction and background. Also, you may find that the information that you are extracting does not have anything addressing a problem for the study. So you'll have to develop or read and create this kind of section so that you have a problem statement for your particular or specific publication. The other thing that may be missing is the purpose statement. You'll have to construct one, maybe incorporate it into the problem statement if you find it fit or it is a requirement for the journal that you are targeting for production of your work. Objectives may also not be there, and they'll need you to construct them. And if need be, you may incorporate them into the problem statement as well. More importantly, the methodology. Methodology may be there, but you find that based on the data that you presented, it will need to be reshaped into a different approach, design altogether. And the last is concluding remarks. You find that there's no information addressing concluding remarks. You will have to rewrite this section based on the literature and data presented, and also recommendations that you made out of the study. Some papers may only depend on the literature, which means in your thesis or dissertation, you may find that you have a very extensive, nice literature review section that addresses important issues and you feel you want to publish it. So in this case, it's either you publish a literature review articles altogether, or you may need to go to the field and collect data again. And in that case, you may need to get another ethical clearance and permission to collect data. But in case of a literature review paper, you may use your literature also as your population and data for analysis. So in some instances, some data that accidentally lacks literature may be published with the review of the new literature. Also try to add latest sources for your literature, like I said in the previous slides. There are also many ways of structuring extracted papers to be discussed in this video in the next slide. And also structure for your article or manuscript may also depend on a particular journal requirements. Remember, you need to prepare your article as per the requirements of the journal before you can submit for consideration. Yes, these are some of the options that you may consider in structuring your paper as you extract from the thesis and dissertation. So in some instances, you may depend on the requirements for the journal, but if it's not specified in your target journal, it means you'll have to decide which elements to cover and how. For instance, item A, you can see that as per illustration, you can also decide to present your literature review under introduction and background, maybe as a sub-theme or as a under paragraphs. And then you can have main themes as introduction and background, problem statement, purpose and objectives, methodology, presentation of the findings, discussion, recommendations, and conclusion. Well, item B shows that you can also merge purpose and objectives with the problem statement as a paragraph normally. And looking at item C, all the elements are outlined as the main elements, main headings or themes in the study or in the article or manuscript. Well, looking at item D, you can see that you have an option depending on your choice or the need for the journal to present purpose and objective under the introduction and background as sub-themes or paragraphs. Well, looking at item E, problem statement And the purpose and objectives may also be presented under introduction and background, either as sub-themes or as paragraph or in a form of paragraph. And item number F, which I forgot to change with an error there, is labeled B. You can also have an alternative to present problem statement, purpose, objectives, literature review, and methodology under introduction and background in a form of paragraphs or sub-themes. And thereafter you present the findings of your study, discussion, recommendations, and conclusion. And that way you will have a complete paper for consideration. Preparing articles for submission in the journal, there are many things to consider, usually as guided by the journal themselves, the journal that you are targeting to publish your work with. The first is to identify the target journal. Like I said, you will identify the journal that you expect to submit your work for publication. And then once you identify them, then check their aim and scope coverage to see whether your content for the paper is within their scope or not. If it's within the scope, then you can submit with them. But if it's not, there's no need for you to submit with them because it will be rejected from the editorial desk. Check the formatting requirements, such as line spacing, font, and font size, and amend your paper in line with this requirement. And check the size requirements for the journal. How many number of words or number of pages do they require for your article? And then try to work it out in relation to that. Check title for formulation requirements. In some journals, they will also guide you on the number of words on the titles and also what must be covered by the title, such as the context and many other things. Check abstract structuring requirements. Like in some journals, you find that they require abstract to be structured in such a way that it has some headings like purpose, originality, methodology, and many others. Whilst other journals, they'll prefer you to present your abstract in a form of a paragraph. Check abstract size requirements. Some journals prefer 150 words, for example. Some may prefer that the abstract be not more than 250 words, and others 300 words. So they differ from journal to journal, and that you need to consider or check and make sure that your abstract for your article is in line with that. And also check themes, headings, formulation, and structuring requirements. In some journals, they will require you to differentiate your headings and subheadings by way of numbering, and some may prefer you to differentiate them based on the font, like main headings in bold, subheadings bold and italic, and then the third level subheading be italic and not bold. So that is just an example about what you need to check. Also check and consider referencing style and citation requirements for the journal, because they use different citations and referencing styles. And in most instances, you find that most journals, they claim that they are using Harvard, but when you check the punctuation and logical arrangement of the bibliography is not the same across different journals, but they all using Harvard system. And send your manuscript for language editing to ensure that your content is good and readable, and your discussion is flowing well, and the readers can enjoy it after publication. And these are some of the things which can also make your article to be rejected from the journal, either under review or on the editorial desk by the editors. And also try to check submission procedure and platform, whether the journal expect or prefer you to submit by email, or they have a system where you have to upload your manuscript for consideration or for review purpose. And check that you meet or comply with all the requirements for the journal before you can send it or upload it for consideration. In summary, I would like to emphasize that let us publish more to feed the body of knowledge in our respective discipline, depending on our specialization. Also consider multidisciplinary collaboration, such as, for instance, I'm just giving example, law and records management. You can collaborate with somebody in the field of law if you are on information science or record management field, to discuss issues touching on law and records. And the other example can be administration or management and knowledge and records. So these are just typical examples that you may consider, but like I said, it will depend on the field that you are based. Thank you for watching, and these are my contact details in case you may need to keep in touch with me, but we can always communicate in the channel through the comment slot. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the video in case, or more especially if it was of great interesting to you.